put away the colors, put away the tribalism. That's my favorite team to watch in South African football right now.
Do you want
when
to
they
add?
play like that? No, I don't want to add what you're gonna ask. I know exactly what you're gonna ask me. You're gonna
In the 5th minute.
let me. What's your question, Chuck? Compliments of the New Year's 2025, and Tour Front is still coming to you. If you are new around here, do press that subscribe button because we bring you all the best in sports. My name is Jay, one half of Tour Front, and in the new year, still got my old partner Chuck. Happy New Year! How you doing, sir?
Oh, good, man. Still good to be a Paris supporter. Still not so sunny to be United supporter.
Answer to this question I asked. Man. I feel like every single week I ask you how you doing. It's like, oh, I'm good because I'm a Paris supporter.
Hey, it balances out though because I was United, ain't it?
I
So
mean,
it's fine.
you come from a draw against the biggest rivals, log leading Liverpool. So I guess you are relatively fine. But Chuck, we'll get to what happened over in a Merseyside. But beginning a little closer to home, right, with Kaizer Chiefs. Kaizer Chiefs once again suffered a defeat. They opened 2025 with a 1-0 loss away to Cape Town City. And of course, frustrations are abounding amongst the Chiefs faithful. There's all sorts of things that they're calling for, people's heads calling for them to roll. But I want to ask you, right, at this point with this Kaizer Chiefs project under Nabi, Kaizer Chiefs in the 24-25 season, what now needs to happen to improve Chiefs?
I think what we are seeing now is evidence it was not necessarily Nabi cooking, it was new manager bounce, because now that he's in the job for a couple of months, we need to see the results and they're not quite there. It's more of the same thing with Kaizer Chiefs. And I think maybe you give him players. You give him a chance to sign a couple of players in this January window, see what the season looks like. But I think what happens, Shay, is that you remain patient. It's the same questions that you have for United coach with Amorim. That, okay, the guy has come in, he's only won 2 in his last 7 games. What do you do with Ruben Amorim? I think you stay patient. If you say this is your guy and you put all your eggs in that particular basket, you have to wait for that. Rather, you put all those eggs in that nest. You have to wait for that hen to hatch them. There's no other hen to hatch those eggs. There's no other manager to make those players better or to make the team play better. So I think because you've chosen Nabi, you wait for him to find his groove. You wait for him to better the players. So I think, Jay, it's not going to be easy because he's been bad for a long time.
Chuck,
that's
when you say you wait for him to find his groove, right?
Yeah.
In January of 2025, seeing that he's been here for half the season now, and he was watching Kaizer Chiefs prior to taking on the job, and he did sign players.
Yeah.
He did sign that entire backline, maybe except for Frosler, who started over the weekend. But for the most part, the majority of them, his players. De Klokwe as well started left back. He's not his player, but usually for the most part of the season, we've seen Cross in that position. But even with his signings, Chuck, with the squad that he has, how much more time are we talking about, and what are we looking at in this season in terms of what we expect from Nabi?
I think, Jay, it's because the rot has been there for so long. Sometimes it's just a thing that's there with the club. And I say so because I support Man United. Sometimes it's there for that long because you bring in Mourinho, you bring in Ten Hag, you bring in Amorim, and you just can't shake it off. And so you give him time because, Jay, I think sometimes you sign players and they're not quite cracked out to exactly be who you thought they were, and you're learning on the job as well because you're new at the team. The player you've signed is new to the team as well, and you're learning in terms of there's 7 out of 10 in terms of what I want from them, but a 10 out of 10 player is there at Amazulu or there at Aros or wherever, and you want to make those signings. So I think, Jay, you give him a bit of time because that's who you've entrusted. But with the time that he's been given, I know you want to see some sort of a return, and I think it's that translation of the idea, Jay. And I think, I mean, yeah, is I think more involved in the games. He's doing a bit more. Mchatwa, same issues. Abu Dupre and Abu Ranga, same issues. I know that. With the defense, they're always conceding as well. So it's a matter of marrying, I think, and I don't know if it's necessarily good to keep mirroring or giving a comparison with Man United, because there are issues there as well. They're not getting it right. But sometimes you have ideas and you've got players who know how to play a particular way, and marrying that particular style or getting everything aligned is an issue. Because I'm sure he's seen something in Miguel. He's seen something in Okros, but he's not getting it week in, week out. And that's the issue. So I think it's a matter of just tweaking and adjusting the formula, because we saw what he wanted to play like earlier in the season. But because they got thrashed and they weren't getting the results, he had to revert to some other type of plan B. And I think he's figuring out what this plan B is. I think number one, show up. But number two, the issue is always going to be with goal scorers. I think if you give Nabi someone who's going to score goals, maybe it's the player who was forget his name, who shone in the Cullen Cup knockout exhibition game against Makesi. Maybe it's that guy. Naledi. Look to the youth. But for me, Jay, look, I think it's going to be a hard graft. I know what Chiefs supporters want more, and probably I'm not giving you the correct answer, but I think give him time to find his grooves, what I'm saying. Eventually he'll get to win, because I think just if he finishes top 8 and he's got a regular starting 11, I think that's a start.
For me, when it comes to a new coach, Chuck, I want to see them get 3 windows. So you get the what they call the summer window in Europe, the off season, right? The big transfer window in the off season, the January transfer window, which we are at now, and then the second big window in the off season. I don't think Kaizer Chiefs should be entertaining letting go of the coach at the moment. I know there's major frustration amongst the fan base, and rightly so, right? And the coach and how he is deploying his soldiers is questionable, and I'll get to that, but I think what you need to take this season to be, and Nabi is on record continuously speaking about this, that I did say I came here to build, right? It is a rebuilding project, and in a rebuilding project, sometimes you have to take down the house first. We saw this with Coach Jose Rivero, where the Pirates that we're seeing in the 24-25 season who are blowing teams away. It's not the same Orlando Pirates we saw when he first arrived, and there were question marks around him. Because I make the argument when he arrived, this is Coach Jose Rivera at Orlando Pirates, was playing with a back 5 and was more defensive, and you had the two pivots, so essentially playing with 7 defensive-minded players. But now it's a show. And that has only come because he's been at Orlando Pirates for as long as he's been there. He's gotten a chance to get to know the players and his personnel. He's gotten a chance to promote youngsters. He's gotten a chance to see who works, who doesn't work, who worked a few seasons ago, and where do we need to strengthen, where do we need to replace, what do we need to do. You see Mahopa as well as Mabasa interchanging as the striker, depending on what form they find themselves in, and it tends to work for whatever run of games that they get, right? But that's only happening in season. What season is this? His third season? His fourth season? His third season. Yeah. His third season with the team, right? So I do agree with you in that you do need to give him time. And when I say give him time, I think you need to give him the time that you had started with when you hired him, that we're not going to make any big judgments until we get to this point. And as I'm saying, for me, that point is after you've had 3 transfer windows. At that point, if we are still here at the end of 2025, then we are having uncomfortable conversations, right? But when I do look at the game against Cape Town City, the most immediate things for me, one, Kaizer Chiefs need a central midfielder who's going to control the tempo, because they were playing a basketball game against Cape Town City. It was to and fro. And the tempo, at no point did it ever change. It was just this fast-paced game. And it was fast-paced, but there was, as I'm saying, there wasn't any control and there wasn't any direction in terms of how Kaizer Chiefs want to play. And this is where I indict the coach, because now when I'm looking at that team, I'm struggling now to figure out exactly how do they want to play. How is he setting them up? And then you see his choice of personnel when he's playing Christian Saile. We've seen all there is to see with Christian Saile. And, I kind of feel bad for the player in terms of he's got, like, the right tools. But I've seen players like this, right? And that onus then is on the player in terms of putting it together, because he is fast, he is strong, and he is a willing runner. He started on the wing over the weekend. But the end product is not there. It just isn't there. And then you see Duba playing on the wings. I don't think Duba is a winger. I do think he's someone who will be more successful centrally, but the coach keeps deploying him on the wings, and you don't see Duba doesn't have a desire in him to take on his defender one-on-one, because that's not his game, and I think he has him out there and he has him in the wrong position. So it is, number one, on the coach's side, he needs to play players, one, who can give him something. I don't know why Sahil is playing ahead of Villegas. At this point, just give the youngster a go, because there is much more potential there. There's more that can come from him than, as I mentioned, playing Christian Sahile ahead of him. And then, yes, the transfer window is important. They need to go find somebody who is going to put their foot on the ball in the middle of the park and hopefully start controlling the tempo. Very happy with Ox and how he showed up defensively. He makes me laugh when he's passing, because he keeps trying passes that are beyond his ability, and he continues to do so, whereas he just needs to keep it simple. But sometimes I'm watching that and thinking maybe he does not feel as if he can give it to a Yusuf Mart or anyone else next to him in midfield who's then going to make the right pass, so he needs to make things happen. But yeah, we do need to look at the coach a little funny, because as I do mention, that the defense are his signings. And when you look at the Kaizer Chiefs squad, Chuck, from 1 to 23 or whatever the case may be, you'd be hard pressed to say that outside of Pirates, Sundowns, and perhaps Stelis, there is another squad in the PSL that is better than Kaizer Chiefs. And if that is the case, why are they not in 5th or 4th place? Be where we saw a game over the weekend between Polokwane City and Skukune on a pitch that they were not supposed to be playing on, by the way. And these two teams started the day in 4th and 5th place. Mm-hmm. Why are Kaizer Chiefs not where Polokwane City are? Why are they not where Skukune United are?
But it's the overall feeling of the club, because as you're saying, when you need someone to stand on the ball and play, that person has to be someone who wants the ball. And currently, with how they're feeling and their confidence being low, no one really wants the ball. That's why they'll hoof it up. And what Nabi tried at the beginning was, let's play out from the back. And then they got pressed, and they couldn't come out of that press successfully. And then they're like, okay, let's abandon that. And so what that means is that the responsibility now is no longer jointly shared with the defenders and the midfielders. It's the midfielders who must come in and collect the ball from deep and put in a shift to at least win the second balls. And they're not doing that. So I think because no one really wants the ball, we'll hoof the ball up high and then hope that someone latches onto it. And I think that is an issue. So I think, Jay, the coach has tried a couple of things that are not working because the team is devoid of confidence. And I look at that and I look at Jay Uche, for instance, let's look at Bafana Bafana, the prime example of good football. When last did we say that? Whenever Bafana get the ball, you're always saying to yourself, when is Mkwena going to release the ball? That's because he feels like he's got forever on the ball. Sometimes a bit too greedy with the ball and it gets taken off of him. Then he gives it to whoever's his midfield partner, whether Obas or whether who's Tall or whether whoever's playing, or telling them about it. But they've got time on the ball. And Chiefs players don't want time on the ball because they're afraid to make mistakes. And I think that's the issue. But a player like Shabalala wants the ball. A player like Uvilagaz, as you say, wants the ball. And so those are players who should be playing. Currently, as you list them, Duprea, Saile, Oranga, those are athletes. They got pace and they got power, but when it comes to the end product, that's when you see that's lacking. So I think he's got his work cut out to Nabi, but I think I do agree with you. Give him time to sign players and then let's see what he can do. But I think, yeah, it's hard going over there, Jay.
Yeah, it is hard going. And on the point that you make, that's where then I'd bring it back to the players. They do need to take responsibility. They do need to recognize they play for Kaizer Chiefs. Get over it. At some point, you need to make up in your mind and deal with the fact that you are a Kaizer Chiefs player. There are different pressures on you. Do you want to play in this team? Do you want to wear that jersey? Then play up to the standard. Also, something like what the goal that Cape Town City score, all those players, they're all in advanced positions. And when it's the counter-attack, that rest defense, that live in the game, that's not on the coach, right? When it's 3 against 1, where are the rest of you? Why are all of you in the other half of the opposition and you can't even recover? So I do think there's a part that is on the coach, and I do think there's a part that's on the players. It is hard going, Amakos.
It was a great goal by Cape Town City, but it was horrible defending because, like I said, you can't go from the halfway line all the way to the Palin untouched. There's no tackle, there's no tagging of the jersey, no one's keeping up with you. So
Frostler tried. I saw him reach for clean air, and he just couldn't get to Darwin.
But I mean, yeah, that's Chiefs' woes, Jay, and they would like to be where Pirates are, where Sundowns are. And that's in the CAF Champions League. And contrasting results, Jay, over the weekend. Pirates won 3-0 comfortably at home, playing against Stade d'Abidjan, whereas Sundowns went down 1-0 to Raja Casablanca, having received 2 red cards in that game, Jay. Contrast. obviously we had said Uti, maybe Paris might not keep up in the league because of the extra commitments with playing in Africa and the traveling and all that stuff. But seemingly at this current moment, they're only 3 points behind Sundowns, the game in hand. But they've got a better points. They've gathered rather more points in their group phase at this point, because Sundowns only sit on 5 points. Paris have got 8 points, top of the group. Have they now become the superior power in South African football specifically, or do you think they're still with Sundowns?
First of all, there was a lot of thuggery that happened in Morocco, Chuck. Jeez, man, the African game. But you know what, Chuck? To answer the question directly, do I think Orlando Pirates have overtaken Mamelodi Sundowns to be the dominant power in South African football? I am hard pressed. Not yet. I'm very close to saying yes, Chuck.
How close are they?
I'm very close. I am very close to saying yes, because I watched Orlando Pirates, man, Escotine against Stade Abidjan, and I also recall them putting 8 past Marumo, although Marumo were there for the taking that particular day. The game against Stade Abidjan, right? We spoke about this when Orlando Pirates went to Ivory Coast and played against Stade Abidjan, that it was disappointing that they did not come back with the win, because they were dominant in that game. But for misses, not only from Makgopa, we saw Orele as well. He missed what would be a sitter for him. And you thought to yourself, well, if the pattern of the game goes the same way when Stade Abidjan come to play the return leg, Escotine, then it's going to look very much like what it looked like. But even though, Chuck, one might have thought that that's what it's going to look like, the football that I saw over the weekend by Orlando Pirates, man, they were walking on water. When they play like that, it is fast, it is direct, it is precise, it is pristine, it is crisp. And I have to tell you, like, put away the colors, put away the tribalism. That's my favorite team to watch in South African football right now.
Do you want to add?
They play like that? No, I don't want to add what you're gonna ask. I know exactly what you're gonna ask me. You're gonna
in the 5th minute.
Let me. What's your question, Chuck?
Do you want to add Tito as the guy who's going to stand on the ball in the 5th minute and say, let's get things going? Is he also part of that, or you just want? Do you enjoy Paris
I thought you
with
were
or
going to want me
without?
to admit that Rel is the best player in the country. But since
I'm
we're
gonna bring
talking
that
about
question.
the ambulance,
Yeah.
So here's what I tweeted about Orele, right? And I'm also going to run it back to Tito. So Rele, Chuck, is the South African football style of our dreams. It is gassy flavor with end product. It is it's umnandi, right? But it's in motion. He's going for that conversation that we've continued to have. But what's the point of the skills of the dribbling if you're standing in one place, if you're not going forward? Look at the Brazilians, they go forward. Rele does that. Like Orele, like that goal that he scored, not in the game over the weekend. That goal where show me your number and then you score.
Yeah.
When last did you see that? If you do that, by all means, what I saw against that Abidjan, there was a point in the game where he does it to Amaya and then he plays the ball through the lines and immediately he's there he's open again to collect and for a shot because he did it close to the goal of the opposition. That right there, Chuck, is what we are thinking. It's what we are dreaming when we're talking about South African football in its highest form. And then I bring it back to Tito. Tito stood on the ball, right? And then he played a marvelous crossfield pass. And then it came back to him and he was carrying the ball past the line of press, right? The only thing is that he rushed to the pass because there was a pass to his left where he could have played. I forgot who was there, but he could have played that pass through, and that player would have been through on goal. So that combination of what Pirates are doing right now, Chuck, it's the best football in the country. The reason I'm not quite yet ready to say they've overtaken Sundowns because you have to go and get it. You have to go and get it. Yes, I know everything that they've done up to this point, but that is going to be decided in May. The question is, who's playing the best football in the country right now? It is Orlando Pirates, hands down. But if the question is, have they then now become the dominant team in the country? You don't put in the work the Sundowns have put in for close to a decade, and you just lose that mantle like that. So not quite ready yet, Chuck.
Yeah. Okay, look, I'd actually have to agree with you that Pirates play good football, but it's sort of like I know it's a dagger, Jay, what we had with Arsenal that they were leading for as long as they did, and they were flying high for as long as they did. But come May, they weren't champions, and you're like, okay, so in the end, you didn't have what it takes. But all along, it looked like, you know. So right now, Paris look like, and I mean, look, with the African football, I think they're aided by the fact that there is Stade Abidjan in their group, because I don't see any easy targets in Sundowns' group versus Paris, because, I mean, Al Ahly obviously is going to be difficult. Belouizdad will also be difficult, but Stade, everyone's going to have a field day against Stade Abidjan. So I think that helps them. But I think in terms of the football that they were playing, I think you're right. We were supposed to put 3 and more past them. We were supposed to score against Al Ahly, because in my mind, if we have beaten Al Ahly, we probably just need a point more and we're done, you know. But I think we're good enough to get a win, I think, somewhere else. Home to Belouizdad or away to Al Ahly. I said it, away to Al Ahly, we can get a point. So I think, Jay, I'd love to say they are, but they're not quite just yet, because Sundowns still have that thing about them, that aura about them, that teams from Africa respect them. People are finding out about Paris right now in terms of, oh, they're that good, but people have been knowing about Mamelodi Sundowns, right? Number one. Number two, I still believe we go to the number of goals. I mean, yes, we scored 8 in one game, but when you look at their Cullen Cup run and their league with their much changed side by Umangoba, they still scored goals. They were still smooth. They were still purring. So I think they've got a bit more flexibility with their side, a bit more depth in terms of options that come off from the bench. And so I think not just yet, but we're running them close. And I think this is what we've always been looking for, a close title run and a team to actually challenge Mamelodi Sundowns. The fact that we're even having this question suggests that our football is in a good spot, in a good place. So I think not quite yet, but I think if we can get a clinical striker, Jay, if Mabasa's rusty, but he should have done better on the weekend. If Mabasa's scoring goals like he did at the back end of the season, then I can say yes confidently.
I think if Mabasa is giving you goals once every 2 games, Chuck, whether that's a goal every 2 games or a hat-trick every now and again, I think that's perfectly acceptable. Yeah. Particularly if you're then going to get the contributions that you are from your other forward players. Ngota right now, inevitably, as we know about young players, they have highs and dips. In terms of the goal scoring, he's maybe hit a little bit of a dip, but you expect, based on what you've seen from him thus far, that he's going to recover his form at some point. Really is special, and it just continues to trend upwards from that young man. In my eyes, that's a South African Neymar, Chuck, and he's continuing to put it all together. And yeah, I haven't been this excited about a youngster in South African football since Ukrim and what he was doing with Ajax, and before that, Jabupule. Maybe you want to say that. And yeah, I really am putting him in that category in terms of players we've seen at this age and at this stage of their careers. So I think if the supporting cast continues to support, and what you have then at the back as well is Usasani has really come into his own, you know, looking like the future Paris captain at this stage. But hopefully, because Sasani is also a 2000, like they really are grooming them young at Pirates. Yeah. And I'm hoping these group of players, right, they can go overseas. Maybe I've got selfish reasons as to why on many fronts. But as presently constructed across the team, even someone like Umakawula, who you didn't expect when he was signed, was going to be a big player for London Pirates. But it's happening. Pirates are purring, you know. I thought that Pirates will miss Unda. They haven't. Like you are not speaking about Usbisi at the end of games, and that's a good sign. Like if you're not speaking about your centre backs, that's a good thing, because or your goalkeeper for that matter, because there are no mistakes that are being committed. They are being solid. They're doing the job, and they're continuing to help the team get results. So if the supporting cast does their job, I think it makes things easier on the individuals, and that's how teams are constructed. You know, I'll say this as a final point, Chuck, in terms of whether Orlando Pirates have taken Sundowns or not. If Sundowns do not get out of the group stages in the CAF Champions League and Pirates do, I'd be ready to say that. All right, Chuck. Going overseas, and we had the big game in England, the biggest game on the calendar, which is Manchester United, who visited Anfield, a place that they haven't won in a long time. They didn't come away with the win, but where many people predicted that Orlando Pirates, where many people predicted that Manchester United are going to be swept away by Liverpool, it did not happen. And maybe on the balance of play, you could make the argument that United were the better team. And where Manchester United are concerned, Ruben Amorim came out and he said that he saw the right mentality from them, and this is how they should be playing every day. So, Chuck, are we going to see a more consistent Manchester United on the back of the result away to Liverpool at Anfield?
We will if Ruben Amorim keeps the lineup consistent as well. If he's going to change, he's going to get different results, because there's a clip that I saw on social media where Casemiro is looking to the bench and Amorim's like, push up, and you can see he's uncomfortable going that high up, because if the ball goes behind him, he's not going to track back, and he's playing next to Eriksen, two guys who are not necessarily fast. But once you've got Ugarte and you've got Maine, you've got Bruno, it's a different midfield altogether. This is the game against Newcastle. And so I think if you want certain results, keep the core the same, and then demand of these guys to give you a level. Then the other guys have to maintain the level that has been established by the guys who are the starters. But if you keep on chopping and changing with different guys with different attributes, then I think you're playing a toss-up, and you don't even know what you're going to get. Because what we saw, and I think going to Roy Keane's comment in terms of these guys are dishonest, because sometimes they give you a shift, sometimes they don't. What we saw against Arsenal, at least in the first half, was great in terms of they kept them at bay. They were tactically astute. They were disciplined. They knew where to go, what not to do, and they held them at bay for the first half. In the second half, corners, I think they could have done better in both those set pieces. It all fell apart. But what I'm saying, Shay, is that the mentality is there, but you have to have some stability. I think that's the one thing about any level of grit or toughness. Something must be consistent. And if you're always chopping and changing with the players, chopping and changing with the style of play or whatever, then you're gonna have issues or disruptions. But if you're like, De Ligt, this is what you do week in, week out, this is what I want from you, then you have Euro playing the next day, then it's Maguire the other day, then you're like, but these guys don't have the same attributes. But if you're like, if you want to come into this team, play like Dalo. That's different. You've established a level. If you want to dislodge Ahmad, you have to play better than him. You've established a level. But if it's going to be easy to come in, your Xerxes, your Rashford, your Anthony, I mean, I don't know if Anthony's deserved a start, but it's gotten starts nonetheless, because he has to trial out and he has to see is he the guy for him. But now, if you want a level and if you want a mentality, get an established starting 11 and then say, guys, this is how we play. If you want to fight and come and play better than these guys. So I think it's possible, because Anfield has been a place of nightmares. Last season was 7-0, and the other season prior, I think it was 5. We got 5 at home. I don't know, but every time we play against Liverpool and City, we shake and we get beaten, right? So we came back against Man City, and then we floundered in all the other games. There's Bournemouth, there's Newcastle, and then we fought again against Liverpool. So I understand where Roy Keane has his issues about consistency, but I think it can be done.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't. And for a couple of reasons. Reason number one, right, you mentioned the Arsenal performance, particularly that first half. You look at the Arsenal performance, that first half, you look at the result against Manchester City, you look at the result now against Liverpool. Those three teams have something in common, right? And it seems as if Manchester United are able to get themselves up for those games. But the thing about the league, and Ruben Amorim also said that the league maybe does not, or the Manchester United's league position does not necessarily reflect the quality of the side. And for me, it's very simple, and this is a rule I live by as a football fan. The league doesn't lie. The league never ever lies, because you don't just play the big games. This is similar with Arsenal, by the way. If you look at Arsenal's record, Arsenal have not lost in any of the traditional Big Six clashes in their last 16 matchups, right? But Arsenal are not sitting here as league champions, because it matters what you do beyond those games. And so the first thing is that with Manchester United, if you look at the last 5 games, I believe 2 games against Manchester City and Liverpool, they score 4 goals, they get 4 points. In the other 3 games they've played in that stretch of 5 games, I believe it's Wolves, Bournemouth, and Newcastle. 0 goals and 0 points. That to me is an inconsistent team. And why would I suddenly anticipate that they're going to be more consistent? The other thing,
different personnel as well.
In terms of how they play, Chuck, right?
Yeah.
In the game against Liverpool, think about the back three, the 3 centre backs. Lisandro Martinez is the one of those 3 who seems to understand exactly how the coach wants him to play. He is aggressive. He is going further upfield to make his tackles, right? Maguire is too slow to get there. He wants to, but he just can't get there. And then you look at De Ligt, he looks a little lost. He looks very timid in terms of jumping and going for the press. Then you look at someone like Dalo. You're not going to come across Trent Alexander-Arnold every single week, right? where you're gonna have a field day against your defender, and that cross that he put in that Ahmad should have scored from. We haven't seen those crosses from Dalo, So I don't anticipate that because I saw that and it was a brilliant performance. There are mitigating factors. One, I haven't seen you do that much, and two, again, as I'm saying, you're not gonna come across a defender who is not keen on defending as you did with Trent, right? So, Chuck, I don't anticipate that United are suddenly going to become more consistent. I really do think this season is a wash, and this coach needs to get a whole lot of these players out of that club, and hopefully United have the funds to get him players who are going to respond more consistently to his tactics and to his instructions.
I think at some point we're going to turn the corner, and if these performances don't tell you we're going to turn a corner, I don't know what you believe the side can do or what the side can't do. But
not
I think
much, Chuck. Not much.
I think, like I said, consistency. When you've got in the midfield of Casemiro and Eriksen, then you don't have the same industry that you have with Umenu and Ugarte. So I think when the team is settled, then you can make changes and you can expect the same. But I think at this point, I get you in terms of they were up for those games. They were up for the game against City and Liverpool and Arsenal, but not so much so against Bournemouth and the Wolves, and they got punished. But I think at some point we have to say that the ideas are translating, or at least if they're not, then the manager is failing. One of the two must be true. So I think I wouldn't say Amorim is failing at this point, and I think things are going to turn around. But Jay, in that very same game where at Anfield, Man United did actually have a very good, you could say not dominated, but they were the stronger team on the day. That's because the right channel of Liverpool was quite vacant because Trent kept going up, and as we know, not too keen to defend. Do you think that's just his liabilities and that's just his traits as a right-sided defender in terms of I'm good going forward, not necessarily good going back? Or do you think on other days when Real Madrid is not calling and giving and putting in bids for a transfer that he plays better, do you think he was distracted by the interest?
So it's not just defensively that he had a bad day, right? He in possession as well, which is where you can bank on Trent. He was terrible. He gave possession away so many times. I believe he had the lowest pass completion percentage on the Liverpool side, or maybe of any player on the pitch on the day. It was a Hall of Shame performance. It was a stinker from Trent. But Chuck, I've never bought into this idea that players' minds are gone. Their heads are turned and their minds are not in the game. Because in practice, right, what does that actually look like? When you are out there on the pitch, you mean to tell me, here is your opponent coming to face you, you're about to get into a duel, or you have the ball and you are facilitating the play, you want to pass your teammate, you want to cross the ball, whatever action that you need to take in any given moment in a game, the thing that disables you from doing it at a high level is because in that moment you think to yourself, man, but like Madrid, those beaches in Madrid, man.
Are you not
in the moment? Chuck.
You're probably aware of the idea that this person is playing like his wife or his girlfriend is in the stands. He's putting on a blinder. Do you not think that the opposite is true in terms of something can put you off your game in that particular game because something's on your mind or something's got your attention?
You see the way that you're asking that question, right?
Yeah.
I would say yes. This is why I said in practice, no, okay. Chuck. I don't understand. It's kind of like I want to say it's like you and me sitting here right now. You know, if something happens in our lives and maybe I say to you, it's like, man, I'm not quite keen to do this recording. As soon as the lights go on and the camera's rolling, you're gonna get me. This is what you're gonna get, and I believe it's the same thing. It's very different from you are sick. You physically cannot perform the act, particularly where sport is concerned. You saw this is the explanation that Arteta gave in terms of what's been happening with the Arsenal squad, and Odegaard looked off color, you know. And if the explanation is that physically he was not at the races, I get that. But in terms of the distraction that in the game, in a big game like that, where the Anfield crowd is behind you, you are chasing a league title, and you know this is a rare occurrence for this Liverpool side for the past 30-something years, you know, and you've got this unique opportunity and you're playing against the hated opponent, the enemy, it's Manchester United, and you've got a chance to do something brilliant. I just think, especially with Trent, we've seen Trent have bad performances defensively. How many times after a performance, especially in a big game, have we come back and said, man, Trent needs to defend better? Klopp needs to do something with Trent. He needs to get into his ear. He needs to ask him to do better, or he needs to apply himself a little more. Trent cannot defend. How can Trent be a defender? All he wants to do is go forward and give those beautiful passes that he does. We've said this about Trent so many times. If this was an anomaly where, man, we know where Trent Alexander-Arnold is concerned, he is one Pisaka at Crystal Palace, where he's going to lock you down. Then you start to wonder, is there something more that's happening? But because we've seen the shambles of defensive performances from Trent, and this one was up there. I don't mean to take it away from how bad of a performance it was from Trent. I didn't see anything I've not seen from Trent before. But more to the question, I really can't get my mind around how in the throes of battle, you just don't have it, because again, your mind is on, man, do I want to sign here or do I want to sign somewhere else? I can't imagine it. I really just can't imagine it.
Like, for me, I don't even know which way to sway to, because, Jay, right? I think I've said this to you, that I don't quite share the idea with, we're playing away, so this game it's harder. But somehow it exists in football that we're not playing in our stadium, so let's be defensive. And I'm like, but you guys play a particular way when you're playing in your home team, in your home stadium. Why not play this aggressive style anyway, right? But somehow it holds in football. Then you've heard someone like Rashford say that he's been going through some emotional things. That's why post the 30 goal season, it was hard going. I don't know what was wrong with Rashford. He never told us, but there are these ideas that things can distract you off the pitch. I don't know, right? That's why I don't know where to sit on this fence. But in my mind, though, when we speak about Trent specifically, I think let's not single out Trent. Everyone was having relatively a bad day. I mean, Luis Diaz, come on. Do you remember
Robertson
that Jones was playing?
on the other flank?
Like I said to you, that as much as United were supposed to, apparently, because everyone was saying we were happy that it's snowing and the game might be postponed. No, we were not. We were not afraid of anyone, even if it's Liverpool. But the idea that we're supposed to get walloped, I didn't see Liverpool put it on us. I didn't see us hanging on for dear life in any part of that game, because they didn't come at us like they were supposed to. Mo Salah did his thing, but how many times did Mo Salah get on the ball? Not as often as he does on other games. I didn't think Van Dijk was solid as well, so I just think generally Liverpool weren't that good. And when you're someone like Trent Alexander-Arnold and your team is not that good to cover for you, it's going to be exposed like 10 times more. So I don't think necessarily he's distracted. There are players like Mo Salah who's out of contract. He's having a season of his life. Is this a boost?
And he is talking about it. He keeps talking about how this is his last season. And look what he's doing, right? So, Chuck, if for me, right, if you are going through something and if you are unhappy, like Rashford, for example, if we were to presume that Rashford is currently unhappy at Manchester United, then I could see how that would affect your performance, because you don't want to play.
Okay.
That's different where you don't want to play. If Trent was in a situation whereby Real Madrid want him and Liverpool don't want to let him go, which is not the case, right? Then I get that way. He's said to the board, I want to leave. I don't want to be here. And because he's within his contract and there's nothing he can do, it's binding. Then I could see that. But where we don't really know what is happening with Trent. But what we're hearing is his head has been turned, and as a result, it affects the performance. I can't see how that happens.
Yeah, I don't think so as well, Jay. I think when you look at someone like Virgil van Dijk, his contract is also up for debate in terms of does he extend, does he go somewhere else. He's playing regular level, except for on Sunday, he didn't play particularly well. So I think generally speaking, Jay, not too many players are distracted by their contract situation unless you are, was it Hakimi, who was frozen out at PSG because he didn't want to sign an extension. Then you're like, okay, that affects your football. But apart from just day-to-day training and how you apply yourself in a game, most players play even better because they want better money if they want to stay at the club or if they want to promote themselves to a different club. So I think in Trent's case, I don't think it's necessarily true, but as far as players are affected by contracts.
Yeah, we don't know, right?
Yeah.
We don't know if players are affected by contracts. I just don't think so. I just don't think so. If Chuck, like, I got an offer right now from somewhere, and
Let's say Sky Sports.
I'm Sky Sports, and I'm weighing up whether to stay here or there. I don't know. Like, I'd be this animated because I love talking about like what we're talking about, right? And it's like,
and all of a sudden you're gonna be knocking the mic over
I'm not here, Chuck. Like, my mind is over there joining Julia over across the pond. Like it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
It really just doesn't make sense to me. But Chuck, it is of course the new year, and we are looking ahead to 2025, right?
Yep.
And in the world of sport, which is of course what we talk about, what are you most looking forward to? What are the sporting events or things that are coming up on the sporting calendar that you are most intrigued or most excited about going into the new year?
Obviously, there's the World Chess Championship. I think we know that's 2025, right? This year.
Yes, this year, yes.
Yes, but much
June
later.
11 to
June.
15th over in London at Lords.
So I'm looking forward to us winning that and shutting people up, because there's been noise ever since we've won against Pakistan and we guaranteed our spot in the final. Just because we didn't take the hard route, it's not our fault, you know. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to more trophies with Pirates. I think we started well, and I think this team can actually give us at least one more piece of silverware. Not just that, but good football where we do well in the league as well. That's important. And I mean, I was looking forward to the year ending in 2024 in Man United's case. I'm looking forward to us at least qualifying to knockout stages of Europa. I mean, that'll be decent. But all in all, Jay, I think, what else is there? Club World Cup. I don't know if I'm looking forward to that. I know it's there. I'm intrigued. I don't know if I'm looking forward to it, but Club World Cup is there. We'll see what happens with that one. And then at the end, when's the AFCON happening? Next year?
December.
And
it runs into January.
Do I say I look forward to that, because there's a lot of inactivity with Bafana? But I think I'm looking forward to just good football, Jay.
Where Bafana is concerned, because that's where you left it off, World Cup qualifiers. 5 of our last 6 World Cup qualifiers are happening in South Africa because of the fact that we are in the same group as our neighbors, and they do not have stadiums in which they can host games, and they've been playing their home games in South Africa. So our away games are also happening in South Africa, and of course we've got Nigeria to come play here at home. So I'm looking forward to Bafana returning to the World Cup for the first time since 2010 and for the first time since 2002.
Are we getting the draw this year as well? Are we getting the draw for the World Cup this year as well?
What year are we in?
2025, 2026 is the World Cup.
Is the World Cup next year?
Already. So we're getting the draw as well. So we get to qualify and get to see who we're facing. And must give us Brazil. We're ready.
Okay, I'm a little shocked by that the World Cup is next year already. I feel like we're just in a bar watching Lionel Messi win the World Cup. Like, man, time is doing some funny things. But yes, the draw should be then at the end of this year. And then I'm most looking forward to Lewis Hamilton in Ferrari Red. I have never had the privilege of rooting for Lewis Hamilton. I've never hated Lewis Hamilton because, man, he represents so much beyond just being a racing driver. For him to come into a predominantly an all-white sport, forget a predominantly white sport, an all-white sport, and not only to be competitive, but to throw his name into the hat of the GOAT, which I believe he already is. Similar to Serena Williams in tennis, similar to Tiger Woods in golf, is just phenomenal. So I've held a great deep respect for Sir Lewis Hamilton, but I've always rooted against him because I'm a Ferrari fan, right? And I finally get the opportunity to root for Lewis Hamilton, and I want to extend an invitation to all the Lewis Hamilton fans out there who travel with him from team to team, wherever he is. Come through. The Tifosi's arms are wide open, and I'm curious to see what he's going to be able to do. I believe he turns 40 this year. What does he still have in the tank? And just the marriage of the greatest of all time and the storied franchise that constructor that is Ferrari together is a marriage made in heaven, you know. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. And of course, it's the world champs, the swimming world champs, the athletic world champs, and the Proteas in the World Test Championship. We're playing Australia, who I'd say are our biggest rivals since we came back into cricket, and we've already been written off because of our soft schedule, and that Australia are going to put things right in the world, and they're going to rock up at Lords, and they're just going to do the business against us. I was looking at their bowling lineup. They're a little old, and there are some injury concerns there. So
Poland, though, I'm a bit intrigued by. He's had quite a good series, I think, against India. But we'll see.
He has. But yeah, Chuck, in terms of the quickies, he's He's the one who is along with Cummins, of course, available because as I'm saying, Hazelwood is 34, I believe. You've got Stark who's 35, and you look around. It's a long time to go from now and the middle of June. So, yeah, looking forward to all of that. And finally, will Paris do it? Will they finally end the
pursuit for the
dominance
second star
of Mamelodi Sundowns in the Premier Soccer League?
So we've got stuff to do in 2025. We have the second star to claim and to pip Sundowns. That would just make it like footballing heaven. Like I know
we're gonna quit the show if that happens.
I know
if Orlando Pirates win the double of the Betway Premiership as well as the CAF Champions League. Yeah, you can kiss me goodbye on this show. I'm not sitting through week upon week of shows with you as that.
I'm buying a Pirates shirt and I'm embroidering a second star before the new season starts. And I'm gonna be wearing it every episode if it happens. I mean, it's a tall order. It's a lot to do, but if that happens, we already called the happy people, but I don't know what we'll call by then. But I'll be ecstatic.
Yeah, if that happens, as I said, Chuck will be doing the show by himself. You'll still find him on the same channel. And please, if you have not yet done so, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is To Up Front. Please drop your comments, your likes, and share the channel as wide and far as possible. We look forward to a prosperous and new year with you guys in tow, continuing to enjoy our offering and us continuing to give you the best when it comes to catching up over what is happening and what is happening in the world of sport. This has been yet another episode of Two Up Front. You can continue the conversation with us on social media as well. It is at Two Up Front Pod across all social media platforms. My name is Jay. Once again, Happy New Year, and I'm outie.
We're looking forward to a whole lot of sporting events. There's cricket, there's football, there's boxing as well, which we didn't mention. Better BFB Vol 2 is coming. But most of all, we're looking forward to giving you more great content in 2025, bigger and better. Watch out for that. This is Chuck, and I'm out.